I think you're going to see the tour go to bigger markets. So Chicago, Boston, Philadelphia, New York currently do not have a regular tour stop. I know they're looking at that. And I think you may see them attempt to go to better golf courses. They have to look after the middle class on the PGA Tour. It cannot be a closed shop. There has to be a pathway, and you cannot protect the Jordan Spieths of the world forever with sponsors exemptions. When I get asked, and I do, Tiger or Jack, the way I answer that is the game's never been played better than it was for that 10 to 12 year period when Tiger was obliterating everybody in sight. And Jack would agree.
Hey, everybody, what's up? Trey Wingo here. If you like what you're watching and listening to here, please make sure you click the like and subscribe button, especially on YouTube. It really helps us grow. Our guest this week is none other than Rich Lerner, the longtime lead host of the Golf Channel, and also does great coverage on NBC for their golf coverage as well. What a lot of people don't know is that Rich and I's paths intertwined 30 plus years ago at a tiny, tiny TV station in the Lehigh Valley outside of Philadelphia in Allentown, Pennsylvania. It's an interesting beginning, and it's been an interesting journey for both of us, so please sit back and enjoy this conversation with Rich Lerner. All right, Rich, let's start at the beginning, because in 1991, I got a job in Allentown, Pennsylvania, WFMZ TV. And I got the job because this guy that has been a local legend was leaving to start his own golf production company. That man happened to be you, Rich Lerner. And so from WFMZ, I found my way to ESPN. And from WFMZ and your production company, you found your way to be the lead host of the Golf Channel and great coverage of NBC as well. What a wild beginning.
Here it is. Can you see that from the Allentown morning call? There you are at the bottom. That's our great news director, Brad Reinhardt. That's me right there.
Oh my
you
God.
You came from NBC in Binghamton.
Yeah.
I was in Allentown for 7 years. I covered Larry Holmes in his days when he was in the ring with Bone Crusher Smith and Michael Bay, leading up to the knockout by Mike Tyson in Atlantic City. Larry was always very good to me. Was he good to you, Trey?
He was great. The Easton Assassin. Right. He was great. He was absolutely great.
So I covered, let's see, who else did I cover? Ed McCaffrey, whose two boys, Luke and Christian, are now playing very well in the NFL. Eddie went on.
Matt
Millen from Whitehall.
Whitehall Township, yes.
Same high school as Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Eddie McCaffrey was the greatest high school athlete I've ever seen.
Yep.
He was 6'6" already. He was cut out of granite at that point in time. You remember covering games in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where Wilt scored 100? That's where they used to play the state championship basketball games. He led Central Catholic to 2 straight state titles, mid-1980s, then went on to Stanford, then won Super Bowls with the 49ers and the Broncos. So Andre Reed was another guy I covered very early, went on to have a Hall of Fame career.
Absolutely.
Kutztown State. I remember watching him get ready for his pro day. Now, to remember, Kutztown was Division II back then, played in the old Pennsylvania Conference with like East Stroudsburg, which gave us James Franklin.
Yeah.
And he stood 10 yards away, Trey, from the guy who was throwing him passes. It was just a warm-up, and the guy was throwing 100-mile-an-hour bullets, and Reed just had Velcro like this. Yeah. Every one he gobbled up. He went on to a great career. He was a good dude. Deer High School.
Yeah.
It was a good place.
It was great. I still keep in touch with Trey. We talk a lot, and he was the second guy I remember from Kutztown. The other one was a running back that played for the Cowboys named Doug Dennison. Bruce
Harper was a kick returner for the New York Jets. Came out of Kutztown as well.
Didn't they have a linebacker for the Broncos that also went? I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
I can't remember his name. So anyway, the point of this is Rich and I could go way, way, way back, and it's just been really fun.
Crazy
on my side to see how things have transpired for you. It's been wild.
Couldn't have predicted it, Trey, that back-to-back guys from tiny old WFMZ TV, which is kind of a powerhouse independent TV station in the Lehigh Valley, about an hour north of Philadelphia, that we came out of that little spot up on South Mountain. But it was a hell of a news spot. Really was good.
It was, and it really was helpful for me in a lot of ways. And I was only there 9 months before I got the call to go to St. Louis, and then I was there for 6 years, and then on to ESPN. But it was always interesting to me because at that point, like the idea of a golf production company was like, what? I didn't even know what that was, And you were leaning in heavily to it, and it paved the way for everything that you've done.
It wasn't exactly a golf production company. We did have a golf show called Let's Go Golfing, although the way I played it, it could have just as easily been called Let's Go Pissing and Moaning with Rich Lerner. It was the forerunner to the old show on Golf Channel, Playing Lessons to the Pros. I would play 4 holes with, I had to deal with Izod, so might have been Betsy King, who was from nearby Reading, Pennsylvania, or Miller Barber, who was a rep for Izod. And, they would give me a lesson and we would talk about their careers. But I also did a Monday Night Football show from the Rose Bowl. You remember the Rose Bowl in Allentown?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
For a little bowling alley, nothing like a bowling alley radio show. I did that with Mike Gooman, who played for Penn State. And the LA Rams was a local guy. John Spagnola, who played football at Yale, was also a Bethlehem guy. And then he went on to play tight end for the Eagles. So I did a bunch of stuff. And then I ended up working for my mom in travel. I wasn't quite, making my way. I was a little bit of a wild child in those days, Trey. And,
we all were.
And then I got out of the travel business I was probably 32 or so. And I had been doing a radio show. I don't know if you remember the late, great NBA referee, Earl Strom.
Oh, absolutely.
Earl was from Pottstown.
Yep.
He knew a guy by the name of Alan Stone and was launching a new all-sports radio network in Dallas called Prime Sports Radio. And sight unseen on Earl's recommendation, helps to know people. The guy hired me, and we sold the house in a day. We had our first child. We loaded up the car from Pennsylvania, went to Dallas, and then the Golf Channel called 3 years later. And next year is year 30, believe it or not, at Golf Channel.
That's remarkable. And here you are from those humble beginnings. You just got the Distinguished Service Award for the Metropolitan Golf Association. Congratulations. What was that like?
Trey. It was a great night. Means I'm getting up there in years. Where if you're lucky enough, you get a tribute here or there for sticking around as long as we have. Metropolitan Golf Association is the New York region. Outside of the USGA, it's the oldest golf association in the United States. And when you think about the Met Golf, you think about the great golf courses. You're talking about Wingfoot and Baldershall and places like that have hosted major championships, the famous architects, but so many good people who love the game. And when they've asked me through the years, I've done whatever I can to help them out. And that was a wonderful night. A couple hundred people. Brandel, our pal Brandel, did the intro, said some very nice things about me. And I had my family and a bunch of Golf Channel people there. And it was memorable. It was a wonderful night. And I'm appreciative.
Well, it's been great. And it's been fun to watch the success that you've had. And
you as well, Trey. Yeah.
Thanks, Rich. It's been fun. And, my affinity for golf came a little later. And actually, it started really when I got to Allentown. I mean, I was a casual golf fan, I guess I would say, when I got there. And Jim Boros was the local
Trucker
PGA Tour pro. Yeah.
I saw Trucker recently. He'll text me every now and then. Truck, just as a quick aside, Trey, Truck is one of those great stories that come along every now and then in golf. When I say he was homemade, when he dug it out of the dirt with a swing that nobody would dare teach, I mean, Truck was that guy. He was an all-state basketball player at Deerf High School. I mentioned that earlier, where Andre went to school. On the east side of Allentown. I used to go to basketball games at you covered games at Allen High. Long before you got there, they had a building called the Little Palestra. It was smaller than the Penn Palestra. It was 1,500 people. But this was before there were 400 networks and 212 games on every single night. High school basketball meant something. And Truck Boros was one of the toughest dudes in the state. And Deerf was one of the best teams. And I remember going to ball games. And out of that, he did not play golf. He taught himself how to play this funny sort of Jim Furyk-esque loopy swing. He was a municipal golfer, and he went on to play on the PGA Tour. He won an event that was rain shortened in Mississippi, 36 holes, so it didn't count as an official, but it is a win. He was in the same era as Freddie Couples and those guys, and a really good dude. Trucker, we call him, Truck Boros, big dude. Anyway, so go ahead.
Well, yeah, it just my real passion for golf started when I got to Allentown for a couple of reasons. Number one, my wife was working weekends as a manager at one of the Gaps there, so I had time on the weekends because when I wasn't doing stuff for WFMZ, so I started to pick up the game of golf, and that was also coincided with the thing that really got me hooked, which was the '91 Ryder Cup, which was the War at the Shore at Kiowa, South
what happened
Carolina.
there?
Yeah, I don't know if you heard. It was a really fascinating thing. So that sort of confluence of events really fueled my love for the game, and it has only grown over the years. It seems like it has always been inbred in you, right? When did you first introduce yourself, or the game introduce itself to you?
In Allentown, this was after you got there because it closed in the mid-'80s. My dad, rest in peace, with three of his buddies in the mid-1950s, started a fully lighted par 3, 30-stall driving range, miniature golf, pinball room, hot dog stand. Yakko's famous hot dog joint in the Lehigh Valley was there until the early 70s, and they expanded. It was called Dorneyville Golf Center. And it was right over the hill from a famous amusement park, Dorney Park.
Dorney Park.
So it was an institution in the area. I write about it in great detail in the book, sort of coming of age years in the mid to late 70s, even into the early 80s. But it was an incredible place to work and grow up and fall in love with the game and all the characters that I came in contact with.
Yeah, and to see it play out the way it has for you is just been remarkable. And for me, like I said, that was the summer. That summer, I was only there 9 months, and that summer was when I got the bug, and it's been something that's grown on me and stuck with me for my entire life, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. And I always feel bad, Rich, for people that don't play golf. And I say this to people all the time, like, you don't understand. Like, you'll save yourself a lot of time and frustration. I get it. But the moments that I spend on a golf course with my buddies or working an event, that's the most fun I can possibly imagine. And I feel bad for people that don't have that journey or share that experience.
My best friends to this day, they were all there at the MGA Awards night, were my best friends when I was 15 and getting into golf, junior golfers, through every step of the way. I mean, they say it's a game of a lifetime. I had a funny moment. I recounted a story from one of our early golf trips. I think it was the first real golf trip I took with the boys, and one of the guys was at the MGA Awards night, Stevie Gilbert. And it's the kind of ball busting, that if you play golf and you have a group that you've been with your whole life, this is the kind of stuff that you would recognize. First golf trip we ever took, I was probably 24. It was to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. 8
Dirty
guys.
Myrtle.
Exactly. I come off the plane and solid right out of the gates with 78 blows. I'm in business. We got a little aggressive that night in Myrtle. On the opening night, I come back on day 2 with 97 blows, and one memorable shot on a par 3, 200 and change. Back then, you might have hit a 3-iron, hosel rocket, dead right, out of bounds, off the condominiums, lining that particular hole. But lo and behold, tremendous break. It caroms back in play. And now it's bounding across the fairway. And it skips and it rolls and it dribbles and it takes a peek at the water, and then it just dives into the pond short and left of the hole. And my buddy Stevie Gilbert says to me, Jesus, Dickie, you got robbed. you got robbed. So we're still doing that kind of nonsense to this day. Yeah, look, you know what? I mean, the simplest way you can put it is golf's a game that you can work at. If you've never broken 100, that's your goal, is to break 100. You want to break 80, you're locked in, you're fully immersed in it. But it's a game that you travel for. It's a game you get dressed for. It's a game you socialize around. It is, it's a lifestyle as much as it is a game, a sport.
Yeah, there's a little funny thing that's been going around on Instagram lately, and I think it's really true. It says, "You tell me golf isn't a drug? It costs about $100 for the good shit. It lasts about 4 hours, and as soon as you're done with it, all you want to do is go golfing again." I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
It really is. And once it's in your system, man, it's hard to kick out. And you've managed to make a career out of this. So when Golf Channel called you, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
I can do that. I was like, yeah, that's it. That's the spot. I remember sitting in Dallas, Texas, and I watched Golf Central. And I think Brian Hammonds was hosting. We were doing highlights, and I knew the game well. I mean, I followed the pro game, and I thought, damn, that's the perfect job for me. Had a buddy by the name of Dave Kamens, still in the business. David and I went to Temple University together. David was one of the first producers there, and through David, I got an audition. And they flew me down, and I got the offer at the end of 1996, and it was absolutely perfect for me. The green light was always on. In those early days, it was a little bit like the Wild West, and whatever I wrote, you just raise your hand and say, "Hey, I have an idea. I want to do fill in the blank," and it was like, "Yeah, go ahead." And it was perfect.
And people forget Scott Van Pelt also started at the Golf Channel. That was Scott Van Pelt's first big
Scott
break.
Van Pelt, yeah. Well, Scottie wrote the foreword for the book, and Scottie will tell you that the interview he did with Tiger after Tiger won the Masters by 12 in 1997 launched his career.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was this time, and we'll get into the book in a minute. There was a time when Scott Van Pelt's entire job at ESPN was go cover Tiger at an event because they had that relationship.
Yeah, they had a great rapport. And you look, I think similar to you, when I saw you in your early days, when I saw Scott, I was like right away, you knew, like, okay, this is how it's done. This guy's going to go places. And, Scott just had it. I mean, our sessions in the newsroom late at night where we were just, swapping impressions of name the broadcast icon or cultural figure from that period of time, Richard Pryor, Keith Jackson, Vin Scully, you name it. Scottie and I would be trading in the newsroom for a bunch of people at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. John Faco, the Don Rickles of our cameramen would come in. Scottie's 6'7", I'm 6'4", and Faco would just destroy us and just blurt out, "Oh, look at this! We got 13 feet of stupid right here," and we were that big and that dumb back in the day. There's a very funny Scottie story I can share here. Early days. This is in the book, but I'll share it with you. Tiger wins the U.S. Open at Pebble by 15. Right?
Yeah.
Tiger Mania is just running rampant.
And still the greatest display of championship golf in the history of the game. I'm convinced of that.
There's just no question. Tom Watson backs that up. Single most dominant tournament in the history of the modern game. The way I describe it is the gap between Tiger and everybody else at that point in time was so wide that they were all in a rowboat somewhere near Australia, and Tiger was on the shores of the Monterey Peninsula. They're trying to figure out how in the hell do we stop a 747 with a butterfly net. Ernie Els shared a story that I put in the book that I've never forgotten, and it shook me. And more than anything else I've ever heard about that period when Tiger was destroying people, it made me understand. Ernie tells me that his own father, who was a hard guy, his own father said to him at that point in time, and remember, Ernie was taking the brunt of it. Think about Kapalua in early 2000. You couldn't have played any better than what Ernie did, except Tiger played, somewhere in another stratosphere. So Ernie says to me, my own father, South African, my own father says to me, he says, "Why don't you stand up to that man?" And Ernie says, "You have no fucking idea what we are dealing with." Repeat, you have no fucking idea what we're dealing with here, as if Tiger was a tsunami, some force of nature that they were ill-equipped to understand or handle. And trust me, at that point in time, that is how they felt. These were hardened. I know you talk about Tiger a lot. These were hardened pros. Dudes, come out of college with a lot of hype every week. And the Nick Prices of the world, Curtis Strangers of the world, they don't bat an eyelash. These are tough dudes who've seen it all. Yeah. Tiger was another matter altogether. They could not handle him. So now he wins the U.S. Open by 2 touchdowns. You don't win golf tournaments by 2 touchdowns. You simply don't. And by the way, what a perfect handoff, the passing of the torch. Nicklaus plays his final U.S. Open. Yep. And right as he's finishing up, and fittingly, Jack hits 18, the famous par 5 and 2. And through tears, he 3-putts. But in any event, Tiger was teeing off right as Jack was finishing up. The torch is being passed. Tiger now goes to St. Andrews, the home of golf. We're going from one cathedral right to another. And now he's got a chance to complete the career Grand Slam, youngest ever at age 24. Yep. So Tiger Mania is sweeping across the United States, but the Scots, who are hard people, who invented the game, are not yet convinced that this guy is the real deal. So this is Scottie's story. I want to give proper credit here. So we're going to do a man on the street. That isn't our business. Where you just go out to a local pub, you take the mic, you say, "Hey, what do you think of Tiger Woods?" Right. Scottie in the Scottish brogue. "All right, you're great American champion. He has done some nice things, but tell me, what will he do in a wee breeze? Then we'll see what he's made of. Let us see how he does in the winds here." Like, wow, these people are hard to convince. They're not bought in yet to Tiger. He's winning by 17 on Saturday. We go back out for, let's revisit our friends at the local pub. And as Scottie says, "All right, I'll grant you, you're American champion." He shot a very tidy score. He shot a speed limit today, shot a 55, is a good score. But tell me, what has he done to find the cure for cancer? He's not done much, has he? So the way I put it is, he was so good, it was laughable. And I can say that about both Tiger and Scottie. Scottie was so good and still is. But Tiger was so good, I ended up winning that by 8. That it really, at that point in time, it was laughable.
It was. 2000 will go down, and I've said this before, is the greatest season for any athlete in any sport. What he did that year, winning 3 of the 4 majors.
By the way, I don't know if I know you're on top of Scottie. Just there are a lot of comparisons being made, Tiger to Scottie or Scottie to Tiger. Right. And I think some of that, is valid. If the standpoint that this is the most dominant player since prime Tiger. So since Scottie won his first tournament, which was the WM Phoenix Open in early 2022, counting that victory, he's won 19 of 80 tournament starts. That is a little bit less than 24%. So and 4 of those are majors. How does that stack up to Tiger's most dominant 4-year stretches? Tiger had 2 periods where he ran the table. 99 through 02, he won 27 of 78. That is 34.5% versus almost 24. And then people forget, 05 through the one-leg victory at Torrey Pines, the U.S. Open in 2008. Ready for this one? 25 of 58. That's 43%.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And so he won 7 of 16 majors from 99 through 2002 and 6 of 14. But here's another way to frame this. Scottie's 29. He'll turn 30 the week of the U.S. Open at Shinnecock next June, where he'll have a chance to become the 7th to complete the career Grand Slam. But age 29, Tiger had 46 wins, and 10 of those were majors. Scottie's at 19 with 4 majors. Now, that said, there's a case to be made, given what we know about Scottie, that he's going to have a long run. He's built for the long haul in a way that we now know Tiger was not, because of the injuries, because of the personal issues that he had. There was nobody who could have imagined that Tiger would not win a major after 2008 until 2019, that he would go 11 years. That, if you asked us back then, Trey, that was simply an impossibility.
That would have been a joke. That would have been laughable if you had someone that surmised
exactly.
that.
He was going to win 100 and he was going to win 25 majors, and there was just no doubt about it. But life got in the way. I think Scottie, in the same way that Jack Nicklaus, holistically looked after himself, I think Scottie makes us believe that, but you never know, but makes us believe that he will have a long, flush run. And I do see Scottie becoming one of the 10 to 12 greatest players ever. I think it's absolutely in the cards for Scottie to get to 8 majors, Tom Watson, 9 majors, Gary Player and Ben Hogan in that territory. I think he's absolutely capable of doing that. And by the way, when I get asked, and I do, Tiger or Jack, the way I answer that is the game's never been played better than it was for that 10 to 12 year period when Tiger was obliterating everybody in sight. And Jack would agree. In any sport, you know this, Trey, having covered football and all other sports, I think the way to measure greatness is margin of victory. Yep. Like you look in the NBA, the Thunder are winning games by, I think it's an average of almost 17 points per game. That is absurd. And that tells you they're going to win the NBA title, barring a major injury. So margin of victory and win percentage. So Jack's career win percentage is about 15%, Tiger's in the 23%. That's for a career.
Yep.
When you can make the Hall of Fame, Trey, look it up. Winning, if you've had a 25-year career, if you win 3% of your starts, roughly 20 to 25 starts per year, see Freddie Couples, see Davis Love III, you can make the Hall of Fame. If 3% is Hall of Fame, I ask you, what in the hell is 23%? You are
immortal.
You're a 450 lifetime hitter. You average 42 a night in the NBA, and you won 6 rings or 7 rings. So I say Tiger played the game better than anybody ever played it in that period of time. Jack never won by those kinds of margins. He never won as prolifically as Tiger. Yeah, however, here comes the however.
Here comes the but.
What is the one record that Tiger himself pointed to as being
18?
Thank you. What's the score right now?
18 to 15.
18 to 50. Not that close, is it? Yeah. And so what that tells you is that how you take care of your mind, body, spirit over the long haul, that matters. And I think we could conclude that Jack probably did it a little bit better in that regard. All that said, nobody I've ever seen spilled as much in pursuit of winning as Tiger did, gave as much toward that goal as Tiger did. It was, you were lucky to have seen it. It wasn't just how much he won, it's how he won in the most amazing ways over and over again. He did that for a 10, 12-year period. And I think, we all owe him a debt of gratitude for what he did in that period. But anyway, Scottie is on his way.
Yeah. But by the way, just when you said nobody gave more or spilt more, one of my favorite, and we'll move on from this because I could talk, and you and I could talk about Tiger for 3 hours. Easy. Mm-hmm. Like easy. Was the Bay Hill win, I think it was in 2002 or 2003, where he had food poisoning. He had a 5-stroke lead going into Sunday and literally spent the entire Sunday round puking or dry heaving or retching, and he shot a 67 and won by 9. I mean, that to me, like, get it. It's Arnie's tournament. I understand that. It's not a major. He said if I didn't have the lead, I never would have gone out there on Sunday. But literally remnants of himself was left on the golf course for 18 holes, and he just blew away the field. That to me is one of those things that if you didn't see it, you wouldn't have ever believed it.
Yeah. And there are 25 of those episodes
exactly.
That you and I could just pluck and we could go for 3 hours.
Yeah. So if Scottie and his comparisons to Tiger and pursuit of Tiger is one of the big stories in golf these days. That's just one of them, Rich. We're in a situation with this sport that we love that it's exploding, which is wonderful, but B, we don't know what's going to happen going forward with the schedule, with what's going on with Brian Rolap, with the private investment and SSG and all this kind of stuff. And then there's what's going to happen between the PGA Tour and LIV. And I bring that up because there are other reports out there that Brooks Koepka wants to come back. And if you listen to Brooks. Yeah, exactly. And it might have been an interview with you guys, I'm not sure, where he basically said, look, I went to LIV because I wasn't sure if my knee was ever going to cooperate again. Yeah, I didn't know if I was healthy enough to compete. And you have those videos of him and those still shots reading a putt where he couldn't crouch down. He did the Camilo Villegas thing. He was down on the ground on all, basically prone, trying to read the putt. So he basically said, I took the LIV thing as a retirement pension, as basically a gold watch. I didn't know if I'd ever play again. What does it tell you about the game that Brooks reportedly wants to come back and be on tour?
Well, I haven't spoken to Brooks, and it's been a while. So I can't speak for him. A couple of things you could theorize. If you're playing LIV and you live in, as Brooks does, in South Florida, I mean, you're not playing in Georgia except for the Masters. The beauty of the PGA Tour with private jets now is you're never more than 3 hours from home. But on LIV Golf, you're playing all over the planet. I mean, you're in Korea, you're in Saudi Arabia, you're in South Africa, you're in Australia. Malaysia. I mean, you are away from home. Granted, it is a smaller schedule, but still, those are long haul trips, and you're not relevant, at least as it pertains to American media and the American fans. I don't know about you. I can't find anybody who tells me, and I do ask whenever I go out, just a kind of a, unofficial, sort of way of measuring. I'll ask people, hey, anybody in this group here watching LIV at all? I'm not making it in the last 2 years. Not a single hand. I might give some. Yeah, I checked it out once. I didn't like it. They simply have not been able to penetrate here in the U.S. But for a handful of guys, I'm talking about Bryson DeChambeau, obviously John Rahm, Brooks, so forth. You don't talk about these players only when they show up in majors, and they've had some success. You can't, you can't overlook the fact that they took some real superstars, some guys you'd like to have back. You'd like to have Bryson. You'd like to have John Rahm. You'd like to have Brooks Koepka. There's a bigness to their games, and I think they could, more frequently, challenge the likes of Rory and Scottie Scheffler. So why would Brooks want to come back? Potentially it's the travel. Potentially he misses being relevant. That's what I could conclude. What I would say with the sort of uncertainty surrounding the game right now, without getting too deep into the weeds for the fans, we don't have a ton of time. I don't think we need to worry. There will be golf balls in the air when pretty much at all times. They talk about a condensed schedule or a shorter schedule. Scarcity is one of the words that Brian Rolap has been using. Sort of, you want to make people hungry for your product in the same way they're hungry for the sport that you covered so well for so many years, the NFL. Different sports, I would say, but in any event, if they're going to go, and I think they are, from February until late August, does that mean fans will not see golf in the fall and the early winter months? No, you're going to see something. What that looks like, we don't know yet. There might be like a relegation graduation series, not unlike what we see now in the fall where guys are playing for their cards. Bottom line, I think you're going to see the tour go to bigger markets. So Chicago, Boston, Philadelphia, New York currently do not have a regular tour stop. I know they're looking at that. And I think you may see them attempt to go to better golf courses. I think they may. Go ahead, Trey.
It's interesting what you just said, because we literally just taped with Justin Thomas, like right before we did this one. And one of the things he said, I want to go to New York. I want to be in Chicago. I want to be in Philadelphia. I want to be in Boston. So it's interesting to hear you say that, because literally that's what Justin just told us. He thinks that's where the tour needs to be in these primetime months of golf.
So speaking of prime time, that brings us to the West Coast. Yeah. Television guy, you know the value of West Coast events that can be played in prime time back in the big markets in the East, New York, Philadelphia. So I'm certain they're looking at the FedEx Cup playoffs, which for a long time have been confusing. Nobody who's involved with the PGA Tour wants to look the other way at an umbrella sponsorship that is worth, I don't know, it's $500 million. It's not a small number, and they've been a very good partner, FedEx. What do you do with the late August run of 3 events? I know they'd like to get out to some of the premium golf courses out west, but there are, as they go through this process of creating a new schedule, there are a lot of constituents that want to be heard. CBS, Golf Channel, we're constituents. CBS likes having the tournament at Pebble Beach in February. It's a ratings winner for them. Pebble
Worst
Beach
month of the year weather-wise, though. Worst month of the year weather-wise for them.
Exactly. But Pebble Beach is a constituent, the actual resort. Why do they like February? Because, and Jeff Shackelford reported this, it is an otherwise off period of time to fill their hotels. You get the PGA Tour there, they get that revenue. That doesn't mean you still can't go west. You could go play a FedEx Cup playoff event at Harding Park, where they've had a President's Cup in San Francisco. You could go to Monterey Peninsula, which was in the rotation for a few years at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Tons of good golf courses. But, and Tiger has said this, there will be some broken egg shells as they get through this process, people who are not happy. So if you're going to bigger markets, it might be at the expense of some smaller market tournaments that have been around for a long time, that have done well. If you're going to move the FedEx Cup playoffs out of Atlanta, and I'm not suggesting they are. In fact, what I would say is if they do make a move in the FedEx Cup playoffs, Atlanta will somehow still, this is my sense, my hope, be in the rotation, once every few years, given its importance with what the great late philanthropist Tom Cousins did with the restoration of the East Lake neighborhood. So that said, lots of constituents, but I think you're going to see 23 events, and it will be from February, potentially starting in Phoenix, maybe, who knows, maybe at Doral, and it'll go right through the end of August and clear the way for football. What do you do in January? You might do some co-sanctioned events in the Middle East. You might continue to elevate some of these national opens around the world. The Australian Open, which just had a great finish, the South African tournament, Japan Open. Times, they're at off times for an American audience. I will say this, as they start to hone in on what they want to do, fewer tournaments on the schedule, maybe even some weeks off. They need to be careful. They have to look after the middle class on the PGA Tour. It cannot be a closed shop. There has to be a pathway, and you cannot protect the Jordan Spieths of the world forever with sponsors exemptions. I love Jordan. I think Jordan's going to have a good bounce back year, but I use that as an example because Jordan, among others, took advantage of some sponsors exemptions in the last couple of years. He's worth it to some of the tournament sponsors. I understand that. So there have to be pathways. I don't like no-cut fields. I want to see 100 to 120 with the cut coming on Friday, because that's some drama, and that goes to the ethos of the sport, where you have to earn it. What'd you shoot? That's what's most important. So, and then we're in a 2 and 3 screen world these days, Trey. So I get you can't make, even a dent in football. It's a behemoth. We're not talking about that. But if you're a golfer, I'm a golfer. I will still during football season. I'll have golf on one screen, maybe football on the big screen.
Yep.
And not every. Here's a way to look at it. We all want Rory and Scottie and Bryson and Brooks and all these big guys together more often. That's the objective over the long haul. But in baseball, not every game, Trey, every night of a 162 game season is Yankees against the Dodgers.
Correct.
The Royals play the Twins once in a while. In the NBA, the Sacramento Kings play the Charlotte Hornets once in a while. It isn't the sexiest game, but it is still pro ball. And if you like it, you have an interest in it, you might be inclined to watch it. Now, I get football and basketball are different. Baseball is different. Those are regional, local fan bases. We don't have that in golf. What golf does have is a great demographic that spends money, that plays the game in a way that, the fans don't in football. 40-year-olds aren't strapping on the pads. Yeah. Golfers want it. They expect it. And we, as a constituent at Golf Channel, we not only want quantity, we want the better fields. We also would like some we want quality, the better fields. We also want quantity because we are the Golf Channel. We want, we want great product to show. Anyway, I don't think fans need to worry. You're going to see well-struck 7-irons morning, noon, and night. That's what we do anyway.
Yeah. What you said, though, there has to be a pathway, right? Because the Akshay Bhattias of the world, Sahith Thegal, Ben Griffin, who had an unbelievable year. Like, you need to see these guys go through and ascend to that stage, and suddenly you see Ben playing in the Ryder Cup, and you see him doing well in these big events, and that's how the sport sustains itself. If we're like you said, if you're just doing top shelf, well, eventually those bottles run out. So you have to restock the bar, basically.
No question about it. One of Tiger's greatest victories ever came against, a long shot, a journeyman, Bob May, mano a mano at Valhalla in 2000 PGA, right? I mean, how many times did he, go up against Rocco Mediate, 2008 U.S. Open? The superstars write their stories oftentimes, opposite somebody maybe you never heard of or somebody who's just emerging.
Yeah, and so I did like, and I've known Brian forever, Brian Rolap, for his time in the NFL. I thought his line was, we will respect the traditions of the game, but we won't be bound by them. I'm paraphrasing there, and I'm sure that's about it. I'm sure that sent some shockwaves to some people in the game, but that's the way you grow. Like you said, you got to break an egg to make an omelet, and he's not afraid to do that.
I mean,
I don't think that's bad for the sport.
Did baseball survive the designated hitter? It did. Did baseball survive the expansion of the wild card teams? So much of this is done in concert with what television wants and television needs. We'll be fine. And Rolap and the group that he brought in, they're sharp people.
Yeah. So, like you said, you're headed on year 30 here with the Golf Channel, and you've got a book coming out called "Aren't You That Golf Guy?"
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the inspiration for
that. Well, so it's funny. Initially, this book was going to be a collection of essays that I had written through the years on Tiger. Plenty of material. And it was going to be timed for Tiger's 50th birthday. Tiger turns 50, hard to believe, in a couple of weeks.
Crazy.
But there was a little bit of trepidation, when I bounced this around some of my pals, like, there's a little bit of Tiger fatigue. Do we really need another Tiger book? And the answer was, I'm not so sure. In the same way that we're not sure we need another book about fathers and sons going on the mystical journey to St. Andrews. Right. It's been done before. So during the pandemic, I didn't have a whole lot to do. This was the case with so many. And I was sitting on a lot of these stories, and I fleshed them out from my dad's driving range, these coming of age stories in the 1970s, many centered around the foul-mouthed, unfiltered cigarette smoking old pro by the name of Frank Stockey. People in Pennsylvania will remember that name. And he taught us all the lessons teenage boys who worked there that no priest, rabbi, mother, father, teacher would ever touch about real life. And so I started writing, and I went. And then I started getting into some characters from the early days at my dad's club. There's a chapter in here called Talcum Powder and Aqua Velva, which is my is my first foray into the inner sanctum of any club, that is the men's locker room.
Yeah.
And the rest I'll leave to your imagination. It's a really funny story. And they're all manner of characters, dotting this section of the book that you've never heard of. And so I I mixed those in with the Tiger stories, and I sent them back to the publisher. I said, hey, look, I'm just curious what you think. And they said they wanted to set up a meeting, and I thought, damn, I screwed this whole thing up.
Yeah.
And they got on the phone with me and said, we love these stories and we want to sort of pivot here. So what we have is a memoir, and it includes quite a few of the Tiger moments, in good and bad, and in the comeback, because he was the central figure of my professional life.
Sure.
So there's a chapter on Brandel. There's a chapter on Paul McGinley. There's a chapter on Samuel L. Jackson, Matthew McConaughey, sexiest man alive, really funny encounter. The Samuel L. Jackson story is basically Samuel L. goes full Pulp Fiction on a poor fan at St. Andrews. That's a chapter. There is I followed Bill Murray for a day at Pebble Beach, and he hits what I deem to be the greatest shot under the circumstances I've ever seen at Pebble Beach. There's a chapter called Golf Claps with Will Ferrell. That is at the Masters years ago. Kelly Tillman and I, my old colleague, walked down to Amen Corner just to soak it all in. And Will Ferrell was standing right to our left. We struck up a conversation, and we started a bit where we were just the guy was Steve Wilson had won the Mid-Am, and we just decided to start a golf clap to see if we could get it to spread. And what ensues is very funny. And then I catch up with Will at his charity golf tournament in Austin, Texas, for more hijinks. There's a whole broadcast section in there. I write about Vern Lundquist, deep, wonderful story on Vern. Ben Wright, who the late CBS announcer, who was excommunicated after running afoul of the broadcast world. And my dad is a central theme throughout, because he started the Golf Center. Arnold is a central theme throughout. Tiger. There's lots of Nicklaus stuff. I write deep about Mickelson and what happened to Mickelson. I touch on all the modern stars. There's a chapter on Brooks. There's a chapter on Bryson, on John Rahm, on Tommy Fleetwood. And then we write in depth about the 2025 Masters and Rory McIlroy. So, and then it all comes back to the driving range in my boyhood days, and it's a bit messy, Trey, but it's and it's and you can digest it in bite-sized quantities. It's the ultimate sit down wherever you're going to sit, and you can pick it up at any point, read a chapter and put it down and pick it back up again. But as Scottie says in the foreword, this is me patting the chair next to me saying, sit down, I got a couple of stories to tell you. And it just, it's 50 years of being in the game for my dad's driving range through all these years at Golf Channel, and comes out in May.
Well, if it isn't messy, it isn't real, and if it isn't messy, it isn't about golf. And those things
it's messy, and it's a little raunchy in spots. I'm looking at some of the titles. There's one called All Effing Day. There's one called Put the Effing Bib Back On. That's a great story. That's Graham McDowell at an outing I did with him, being asked who's the biggest jerk in golf. We always get asked that. Don't you get asked of all the people you covered?
Yeah.
Who's the biggest jerk? Yeah. So that's Graham McDowell answering that. There's a chapter called Breast Man. There's one called Brandel Breaking Windows. You're going to like that one. Jack and the Giraffe is another one. That's Jack Nicklaus, me, and two giraffes, which we'll save that.
Yeah. I want to read that one.
It's all over the place, but it's good fun, and we answer a lot of the questions that people have. What's the greatest shot you've ever seen? What's your favorite tournament to cover? What's Brandel like? What's Tiger like? We try to answer all those questions. So,
well, you spend far too much time with Brandel, but I've enjoyed my encounters with him. I'll just tell one quick story, and I think you'll appreciate this. They were out here. He and Billy Kratzer were up in Connecticut covering.
Love Kratz,
TPC River Highlands one, and then we had a day off, so we went and played at the Farmington Country Club, which was real close to my old home in Avon. And there's a long par 4. I'm hitting driver hybrid onto the green. Brandel hits driver 7-iron, and he hits it into the tall fescue grass behind the green. So Brandel, the fescue is almost as tall as Brandel. I mean, that's how short
right
Brandel is, and that's how tall the fescue was. Okay, so you can barely see this. You barely see Chamblee in there, and he comes through, and it drops on the green and drops into the hole, and he just looks at me and goes, "You can't hide talent." And it took all my restraint, Rich. It took all my restraint to not retort with, "You hit it pretty well outside of that one win in Vancouver," but I didn't go there.
I'll tell you what, I happen to think he's right there. He's in the conversation. Greatest desk analyst in the history of sports television.
He's great.
You do this for a living, Trey. You did it at the highest level. Like the depth of his research, the breadth of what he's trying to do, his range, his ability to convey it, his literary chops. He's a great writer. His ability to bob and weave in a live show. He can be funny. I can throw him something. I'll say, "Hey, partner, they're coming back in with a shot of the Hogan statue. You want to crack at that?" Without any chance to look anything up. He'll nail it. Yeah. And he's provocative in the way that you're supposed to be in that spot.
Correct.
Which you'll never hear Brandel say is, "It'll be interesting to see what happens." Yeah. You'll never hear him say that. It's your job as the analyst to tell me what is interesting about this. And Brandel never straddles the fence. That's why he pisses people off once in a while. But his job is to make you think, is to challenge convention, which he does. And I always tell the other guys who come in who are new ex-players, they want to do what Brandel does. First of all, you got to work. He works to the bone. Never beat him into the office. You have to work. And 2, learn to write a headline. Yeah. Brandel's great at writing a headline. So-and-so overrated. Scottie will be better than Tiger. Whatever the headline is, he makes you go, "Whoa, what did he just say?" But then he backs it up in great detail. And as you know, he's good fun too. He's great to be around.
He is. And I've enjoyed our relationship over the years. I
know you guys are really close.
Yeah. I've enjoyed our relationship over the years. Again, the book comes out in May. It's called "Aren't You That Golf Guy?" And I can't wait to hear about Jack and the Giraffes. Rich, always good catching up with you, man. I appreciate the time. Stay warm and stay indoors, okay?
Trey, thank you. All the best. Where are you off to? Hawaii next?
Yeah, we're in California for the month, and then we're heading out to Maui first of the year. So we'll be out there a little bit.
I want to be Trey. I want to be Trey.
It comes with a heavy price. Trust me.
Happy holidays, brother. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Appreciate you.